Well, I hope to be back with a project for you guys soon for 6 Center Park Drive.
Good. That sounds encouraging.
Yeah.
Maybe you could give us a preview later.
You drive by there, you see a preview. It looks like they're doing some tree clearing. But yeah, they had good success with that first commercial building, and now they're building the second one on that first parcel. Looking
Okay. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock, Kurt.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and call the Topsham Planning Board to order. Patty, could you please take the roll?
I can. Don Span.
Present.
Scott Libby.
Scott will be 15 minutes or so late.
Ron DeSon.
Yeah.
And Larry Brand.
Present.
Dan Flagg.
Present.
Joshua Spooner. Bruce Fanote. I see that Scott Libby will be a little bit late. Joshua Spooner and Bruce Fanote are not present.
Josh is just checking in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Josh, thanks for joining us. So Josh just checked in. Let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to have to not vote on the approval of the minutes since I wasn't there, but I guess I would entertain a motion for the minutes and also a second. Do we have a motion? And it's the April 20th minutes.
I move we accept the April 20 minutes as written.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, just say aye.
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 All right, and I abstain, Patty. So thank you. So the first project, my understanding is that at the last meeting, conditional use was approved. You tabled the site plan and you completed the public hearing. So this is JM Bedford LLC that's applied for site plan approval for a 1,996 square foot restaurant at 51 Topsham Fair Mall Road, tax map R05, lot 9A1. So I was there for sketch. I wasn't there for conditional use. I guess, Kurt, if you can just kind of fill us in on where you're at from, I think you're doing this one, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
If you can fill us in on essentially why you were tabled and what you've completed to bring the project forward.
Yep, certainly. So for the record, I'm Kurt Neufeld with Sightlines, representing the project on behalf of the applicant and John Larson, who is the landowner. And the reason we were tabled last time is that the town had not received the comments from either the traffic or the town's peer review engineer. And there were a couple of things that were going to be revised on the plan as a result of some feedback that hadn't caught up to the set that the board had in their package. If it's okay, I can share the screen. I will just go over those changes. They're fairly minor.
Please do.
So the primary change to the site plan from that was to, we're seeing it okay? This walkway connection out to the road was moved from kind of the middle of the parking lot where it lined up with this to the end. That's going to provide better visibility for people who are going through there. And so that connected here. And I think it was on the last plan, but we did neck down this aisle here to 24 feet. There was a little bit of discussion back and forth with the reviewing engineers, but there was determined that that was an acceptable change to try to slow people down around the corner and basically make that a more controlled entrance and exit. Really, I think from the site plan itself, that was about it. There was a few questions, and then there were some comments from the town peer review engineer to make sure that we had the proper pavement buildup for out in the Topsham Fair Mall Road. So we did add that section there. And detail for bituminous curbing, since they are going to have to go through bituminous curbing when they do their work right here. So fairly minor comments from the town's peer review engineer. I think that T.Y. Lin had a couple extras. They had asked for the usual traffic or truck moving templates to be used, just to show how they're going to circulate the building. And unfortunately, we got a new server here at work, which rendered our license server for that software inoperative. And we haven't managed to get that up and running on the new server yet. So I wasn't able to do that. And then I think that there's an outstanding condition of approval. But I think the main reason was just to make sure that the town staff and planning board had heard back from those folks, and we addressed their comments.
Okay, so what's the additional or the outstanding condition of approval?
You're gonna ask me that? There's two. One that we would provide a pedestrian facilities from their site to the former Ruby Tuesdays. And then there's another one that doesn't really have so much to do with the peer reviews. There was discussion about at the last meeting, there's a sidewalk requirement that would run right through the front here, and would not only would it sort of be a sidewalk that went to nowhere here, but it would obliterate any chance for landscaping. The town has worked with T.Y. Lin on, I gotta get that to stop. Anyway, the town had worked with T.Y. Lin, of course, before on a master plan for the Topsham Fair Mall Road, which would include more landscaping and better position of the sidewalk out there. So it's agreed to defer the construction of the sidewalk until that time. Then there were some other discussions regarding the landscaping and irrigation of what might happen out here along this island. Since getting a cohesive landscape island out here will require participation not only from this landowner, but from 4J's LLC and other things to coordinate all that and the maintenance of it. That has been, again, deferred until that whole plan comes together. And so what they've requested here as a memorandum, condition 12, that be a memorandum be prepared so that when the Topsham Fair Mall master plan is implemented, that they would participate appropriately.
Okay, so it's captured in the conditions.
Yes.
Okay,
So I think we have the standard 9 and then just a couple extra specific to this project.
okay. Can you unshare so I can see the board again?
Yep.
Thank you. So I guess I'll go to the board. Do you have questions? Any further discussion in regards to what he's brought forward? Ron or Dan, or I guess Larry. Larry, you raise your hand. Please go.
Question for you, Kurt. I noted that in one of the engineer memos, it was talking about snow removal and that's going to be taken off site. And then there was also that whole salt control plan. Is that covered anywhere in the site plan as far as that, the snow removal does go off site? I'm familiar with like what happens at like Walmart, Shaw's in Brunswick, where you end up with massive piles.
Well, there's a snow dump. I hate to use that term, but there is one where most of Topsham Fair Mall Road goes down. The Topsham Fair Mall goes to southerly of the Target area. And so just about everything that has to be removed from these small facilities gets carted down there. And I think Crooker does that almost all the time now. We'll probably continue to do so. So there's not a note on the plan. We haven't done one specifically to say that it has to be removed off site for any of these projects. And the salt management plan worked with Tom Saucier on developing that. And it is not referenced on this particular the plan. We could put a note to that effect on there before it comes back in for signing.
Okay, that'd be great if you could do that. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Larry, anything else?
Nope, that was it. Thank you, Dan.
All right, Dan, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just a couple minor ones. I think Mr. Larson at the last meeting had indicated that there's a couple transient businesses there, seasonal businesses, ice cream stand, and maybe a farmer's market, Christmas trees. And I think it indicated he had a plan to continue to accommodate them somewhere in the general area there. Is that the case, Kurt? Not
it is. Yeah, we've did have continuing discussions about that. And basically, the plan is for them to go white. That's effective. Try that one again. I'm going to kind of highlight the whole area, but I think they're really looking to go over here. We're having some discussions about widening this island a little bit so that there might be a bench or something over here, and then they could operate like the ice cream truck here. But I think seasonally, for holiday time, it would kind of take over a little bit more area so they could have trees on both sides. But there's still a couple things being worked out, I think, with John and Sunset Farms in terms of cost sharing and how ambitious they want to be with that. Of course, John stood me up tonight, so he can't back me up.
Okay.
Anything else,
I thought
Dan?
that, I remember him saying that, and I think it'd be good to accommodate those if possible.
Yeah. Everybody wants them to stay though, so something will come together.
Well, that's where I get my ice cream. So
right. No, we want to make sure that still happens.
The only other thing is just more for my interest is, obviously this is another infill project in that same area, and it does eliminate parking spaces that are currently there that accommodate several businesses in the mall. So I'm assuming, in terms of the total number of parking spaces that are going to remain to accommodate the area businesses is going to be sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Dan. I guess, Ron, either you or Josh have any questions?
The only thing I got is Kirk was talking about the snow removal and stuff. Well, the past couple of years, that lot beyond Target, the owners of that have charged a wicked price to dump snow. So Kirk has been hauling it off site up to what they call Jack's Pit. That we didn't have that much snow this year to haul off, so that's why they never cleaned it up. But the year before, they hauled it all up to Jack's Pit. I guess there's quite a thing there about the price. And
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Josh, did you have anything?
I think the only question I had Kurt was explaining something about a sidewalk requirement and there wouldn't be space for landscaping. And I just wanted to get a better understanding of what that discussion was and how it turned out. And my apologies for not being at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I
sure.
would probably know. Okay.
So when we brought this in for sketch, we had discussed replacing the mulch beds that are up against the Topsham Fair Mall Road with lawn areas. And unfortunately, that was maybe a little premature because John Larson, who maintains the rest of the mall, did not want to have a lawn out there for a few reasons. One of which is they're not set up to maintain lawns in their existing landscape islands, and he didn't want to get into that, maintaining a small piece of lawn out there. However, in light of the future plans, he did offer to run conduit for irrigation, and supply the water actually if it is irrigated or planted with lawns and wants to be irrigated. And of course, Jim's further down the road does have some irrigation and grass in front of his. So the thought is, as the master plan moves forward, which involves reducing the Topsham Fair Mall in front of this business down to one lane and taking over some of the existing lane for more landscaping and a better place for a sidewalk, that when that comes forward, and again, we've talked to Ron and Andrew about this, and I think because it would involve perhaps some maintenance responsibilities either through the town or through a contract with the town, it's kind of sticky and we can't resolve it today, if you will. The idea is that everyone would implement that. And again, we are making provisions to bring irrigation out there. But we do have other landowners involved that would kind of have to bring everybody to the table in agreement. So the basic thing is to leave the island as is with the potential for landscaping and defer the sidewalk until it can be coordinated with the overall master plan effort.
Right. And Kurt, that's when you refer to that, you're referring to that study that was done a few years ago, and the select board have a report from the consultant that did that.
Yes.
On his recommendations for that whole area coming all the way in from the entrance of the mall.
Right. And it's generally favorable to everybody, but there are details to be resolved in terms of upfront costs and maintenance effort for everybody involved.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Do you have anything else, Kurt?
No, I appreciate the board's patience, and it's too bad Bruce was not here to see it fully baked. But,
Okay. So hearing no other questions, Larry, were you going to make the motion?
I can, Don.
Please.
That I hereby move to approve the application for site plan approval applied for by J.M. Bedford LLC for the development of tax map R05-B, lot 009-A-1, with staff recommended conditions as identified in the staff memo dated May 13, 2021. The board finds that the application meets the applicable standards of section 175-8 and chapter 225 of the Topsham Code.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Ron seconded. Any further discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Is there any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. All right, thank you, Kurt.
thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a conditional use permit, public hearing. Daniel Gibbon, J.C. Goddard, Tide Properties LLC would like to relocate their practice to 460 August. I think that's Augusta Road.
Augusta.
yeah, tax map R06, slot 005. And who is going to be presenting that?
I can introduce things for us real quick, Don.
All right, thank you.
This is an application from a couple that's interested in locating their practice from Freeport to Topsham. They've acquired a 3-unit apartment building immediately adjacent to their new single-family home. They intend on taking one of those apartments and converting it into their practice. The zoning code allows for this use as a rural entrepreneurial use that has specific performance standards in addition to the conditional use standards that a project needs to meet. They've put together an application that kind of outlines how they believe that the project is aligned with those conditional uses. And they're here to provide a little bit of background on their practice and answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. So is it more appropriate to say Dr. Goddard?
You don't need to do that. We're not that formal, really.
Okay, well, please share with us your thoughts and a little bit of an overview. I have read, I'm sure the board has read your application and gone through the conditional use criteria and so forth, but if you could give us a kind of an overview and a summary, that'd be appreciated.
Sure. So we're a married couple. We are osteopathic physicians. We've had a practice together for the past 10 years located in Freeport. We practice osteopathic manipulative treatment, which involves hands-on approach to treating medical conditions, primarily pain. Because we use our hands more instead of medications or pharmaceuticals, we very rarely prescribe anything. And we almost never prescribe opiates or opioid medications. We are interested in moving our office to Topsham primarily because of the rural character of the location. We really like the area and want to have that kind of quality to our practice, and also we wouldn't want to do anything that would hurt that quality of the rural quality of that area. So anything you want to add?
No, that's basically it. We treat a lot of people who have pain, headaches, low back pain, and it's a fairly slow-paced kind of practice. So we see maybe eight to 10 people a day. We work about 4 days a week. We are pretty busy, and it's, we're a successful practice, but we're slow-paced and mellow. It's not like we have a lot of turnover. We're not doing injections, and we don't, I don't think I've written a prescription for narcotics in 10 years. I don't know. It's been a really long time.
Yeah.
So we're not that kind of practice.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, why don't we go around the board, see if you have some questions, and then I can open it up to see if there's any one in the public that would like to ask questions or whatever. I don't know if it's worth going through the conditional use items, Andrew, and basically doing a quick review of that. But before we do that, I guess, Ron, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I think it looks pretty good.
Okay, Dan?
No, I think it's a great project. It fits perfectly in the rural entrepreneurial category, and it's a nice farmhouse you got there.
Okay, Larry?
I don't have any questions right now, Don.
Okay, Josh?
No questions, no issues.
Okay. I'll just leave it up to the board. Do we need Andrew or someone to go down through the conditional use criteria? And I mean, I've read it, right? I assume all of you have as well. And just reading down through each of the criterias, I believe they satisfy the requirements. But does anyone want to hear it more? If not, I'll open up to the public and see if there's any public comments. Hearing nothing.
Say
I'm
open it up.
satisfied with it.
Okay, good. So hearing nothing, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. This is a conditional use hearing. Andrew, if you would check the see if there's anyone that has any questions or comments from the public.
We have no one, Don.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you then. Unless there's any comments or questions, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and go back to the board. All right. The public hearing is closed. So I guess, I don't know, Larry, you did the last motion. Would you like to do this one as well?
I could do this one as well. I'm happy
Okay,
to
great.
do it.
Thank you.
I move to approve the application for conditional use approval for a rural entrepreneurial use at 460 Augusta Road, tax map R06, lot 005, in accordance with the analysis presented in the staff memo dated May 14, 2021, and application materials and plans provided by the applicant and reviewed by the board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. I think that was you, Ron, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So Ron seconded. Do we have any discussion from the board? All right. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Does anybody oppose? Okay, no, it's unanimous. All right. Thank you and welcome.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Forward to being a part of Topsham.
Okay,
you.
so we're going to adjourn to workshop. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion
I
to
move to
adjourn.
Make a
adjourn.
motion, we adjourn.
All right, plenty of motion. All right, so, and I'll second all those. So all in favor, aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Hey,
I
Scott,
think Scott might be opposed.
are you opposed to us adjourning and going to workshop?
Oh, no. But I'll abstain because I didn't hear any of the discussion to go to workshop.
Okay, there we go. All right, so it's unanimous with one abstention. All right, we are now in workshop. And Andrew, are you or Rod going to introduce this?
Either one of us can. Andrew, do you wanna do it?
Really, it does not matter. The town of Topsham has entered into a contract with Duncan and Associates to assist us with a major recoding effort. So with the adoption of the comprehensive plan in 2019, one of the major outcomes was a need to implement some land use changes. And so we've engaged Duncan and Associates along with Codometrics to assist us with that over the course of the next 2 years. The Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee is kind of spearheading the actual guidance of the implementation of the plan. They have led by engaging in developing the RFP for these services, selecting the consultant, bringing that towards the select board. This is your first interaction with Kirk and Leslie, and they'll just be discussing in brief terms kind of the process over the coming 2 years, and then more particularly about your expectations for involvement in this process. We have CPIC, we have the planning board as kind of being the two principal stakeholder groups or steering entities, but then we also have other content committees like the Energy Committee, the Conservation Commission, the Historic District Committee that all need to provide input. We also need robust public input from the general public. So this is all about figuring out who's going to have what roles and how we're going to move forward. So Kirk Bishop and Leslie Oberholzer, take it away.
All right, welcome guys. Why don't we let you go ahead and give us a quick rundown. I did get a chance to go through your presentation. Both of you are muted right now.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and planning board members. I'm Kirk Bishop, joined tonight by my colleague at Codometrics, Leslie Oberholzer. As Andrew said, we're going to give you just a general overview of how we see the project progressing over the next couple of years. Tell you a little bit about the work plan, the schedule, a little bit about our philosophy. we are just beginning the process. We really don't know what we don't know, so we're not going to get too far into substantive matters unless you all would like to apprise us of issues and concerns and ideas that you may have. Leslie, are you going to fire up the presentation for us? We're borrowing a bit from the presentation we gave to the selection panel for this project. I want to say that we're both very excited to be working with you all and the town of Topsham on this project. We're very enthused by what we know about the community, the folks we've met. I think it feels like a really good fit, and we're really excited to get started. Tell you a little bit about ourselves here, if I could. Yeah. So again, my name's Kirk. I'm a principal and owner of a small consultancy based in Chicago and Austin, Texas. Our practice really focuses almost exclusively on working with local governments like the town on updating zoning and land development type regulations. I have served over the course of my 30+ year career in the role of Andrew and Rod. I've sort of been on that side of the counter. As you might imagine, we've worked with many planning boards, planning commissions, governing bodies over that time, and feel like we have a really strong grasp of the subject matter, and we're really excited to work with you and members of the CPIC, the implementation committee, on this project and others. And we hope you'll help us get the word out as we begin to gear up and get this project going. Tell your friends and neighbors about it, and because we want to continue, I think, the tradition that you've established through comprehensive plan updates, and do as much as we can to engage people in meaningful ways in this effort. As I say, I do have sort of front counter perspective on Andrew and Rod's side of the table. Our work spans really most of the country. This is our first project in Maine. We're really excited to be working there, and really looking forward to our first actual visit to Topsham. In the meantime, we're going to make use of all the good data that the town has, and Google Maps and other sorts of tools to get to know the community physically in terms of its layout and development patterns and character. And we're going to be convening a number of meetings like this to meet the folks and really get a sense of the values of the place as well. So I'll hand the baton to Leslie. She'll tell you a little bit about ourselves, and we'll kind of explain a little bit more how we see this project unfolding.
Yes, we're very excited to be here and meeting you all. My name is Leslie Oberholzer, and I am a landscape architect and a city planner. And what I've done is for probably the last 15 or so years, I've been sort of bringing together my design background with my planning background and policy to write zoning codes that are much more reflective of the character and the design of the community. I am a steering committee member of the Form-Based Code Institute, which has been a great way for me to work with colleagues who are doing this across the country as well, doing a kind of a different kind of zoning code. And I've really enjoyed that. I've also worked quite a bit with the U.S. Green Building Council, Lead for Cities, Lead for Neighborhood Development, on sustainable infill and redevelopment. I've worked on several Lead for Neighborhood Development projects across the country, some of the first ones, and have really enjoyed the idea of sustainability metrics being folded into zoning codes. Lots about walkability and energy efficiency and, managing rainwater and so on. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. Kirk and I work together on a really regular basis. And I feel like we sort of bring two viewpoints, two perspectives to every zoning code that we write together. And so we're very excited to be doing this in Topsham.
Thanks, Leslie. In terms of the overall project, it really has two main tracks. One is to, first and foremost, this is about implementing the comprehensive plan, aligning the goals and policies and vision of a very exciting comprehensive plan with the zoning regulations, where, as we all know, the kind of rubber meets the road in terms of the development that occurs and the character and placemaking capabilities of the buildings and new construction and reconstruction that occurs in the community. The project, as I began to allude to, has essentially two main tracks. One is a kind of hyper focus on what we've been referring to, at least internally, as a kind of renewed vision for the Topsham Center area, which includes the lower village, middle village, town center areas, as well as the kind of surrounding area, the kind of core area of the community. And that'll be a key focus of Leslie's work as she tries to work with the community to create zoning regulations that capture the sense of place that you all, I know, cherish today and want to see bolstered even more going forward. At the same time, I'm going to be working closely with the staff to sort of work on other aspects of the code in terms of its overall organization, maybe rearranging some things, focusing on some maybe strategic amendments to particular areas outside of that Topsham Center area, and doing some general cleanup, reformatting with an eye towards making the regulations as easy to use and understand and administer as is humanly possible when it comes to zoning type regulations. And at the same time, we understand that this new kind of zoning framework that will evolve from Leslie's work with the town will need to be really kind of seamlessly integrated into this overall zoning ordinance or zoning code framework that I'll be working with Andrew and Rod and other members of the community on. And then moving forward, our work plan even includes sort of after adoption assistance, ensuring that the new code regulations can be implemented easily, and that we sort of assist town staff in addressing any issues that emerge post-adoption. Leslie,
ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to talk about kind of the bridge from the plan to the zoning code?
Yeah, absolutely. This slide, I really like this slide. What I did was I sort of pulled all of those big ideas that are listed in the comprehensive plan and highlighted a few that we feel like we can really address well with the zoning code. This is a great set of big ideas, and they're really well written and well illustrated. This sort of idea of streets for people, I heard you talking with the engineer just a few minutes ago about pedestrian access to the new subway shop at Topsham Fair Mall. And, those are some of the pieces that we can definitely kind of fold into the zoning code and figure out how do we make those kind of continuous paths between the different developments. Fostering social connection is all about, a mix of uses and places so that there's places for people to go and people to gather, open spaces, small scale open spaces, that help with that, all of those connections. So creating a whole series of socially rich places. Then housing diversity, obviously we want to be careful about what kind of, new housing comes into Topsham to make sure that it matches that character and has that same sort of rural feel that was also referenced with the doctors that were just speaking for their conditional use. So, and then finally, just to kind of focus in on sustainable future and making sure that we're being careful to respect the sort of natural environment that you have there in Topsham, and making sure that everything that we're asking to be developed based on the regulations are, meant to be more sustainable, meant for the future, durable and long lasting, and, meeting the character of the area. So those are just some of the points that we pulled from the comprehensive plan, and we look forward to talking to the community much more about that, making sure that we're right, and hearing more explanation, about that. Another sort of part, we will be, we have a whole series of discussions to have with community members, and, listening to anecdotes and concerns and what everybody loves about the community. And in addition to everything that we're learning from what's written down on paper in the comprehensive plan. But another very important part of it is what Kirk kind of mentioned, is the field surveys, and making sure that we really understand the space of Topsham, the buildings, the structures, the spaces in between those buildings and structures, the open space, and, just pure dimensions, like how far buildings are from each other or how far they are from the road, and understanding, what that scale is that you guys are going for, will be a big part of this sort of early segment of our work. And so I'll be doing a lot of field surveying. Initially, I'll be using Google Map and using GIS information that staff has provided us. But we do look forward to getting there on the ground so that we can really feel what it's like, in addition to talking to the people.
I want to go back on something you said, Leslie. You referred to that as a Subway. I was promised by Andrew and Rod that was a Jersey Mike's.
No, Jersey Mike's. Sorry, didn't I say sub sandwich place? I knew that it wasn't sub.
Okay.
That is noted and will be reflected in your processing of your invoice.
Well, we don't have Jersey Mike's here in Chicago. I have.
You sure?
Well, I don't think so. I haven't found one, but
because I know them. So.
Oh, you do? Well, I had Jersey Mike's, and I'm looking forward to having another one when I'm in Topsham, at least for lunch. So, just wanted to clarify that.
I think I said sub place.
Okay, I'm sorry. So just a little bit about the overall timeline and approach. It's really our work plan really has 4 key phases, if you will. And I think we've referred now to the fact that it's about a 2-year program of work that's meant to, the schedule is somewhat dictated by the town meeting framework and wanting to hit a kind of, I think we're projecting maybe a May 2023 town meeting for the final adoption and acceptance of our overall code, but all of that's a bit in flux. The key phases are, and we're as again in the very beginning of phase 1 that we refer to as the discovery and overall project direction phase. That will involve and has involved kickoff meeting with town staff and key actors at the staff level, a series of listening sessions, both with boards and commissions and committees, and with private individuals who are, knowledgeable about zoning and development issues in the town and want to have a sort of early opportunity to weigh in. We call those listening sessions, and we'll be scheduling those over the next month or so. couple of months. Leslie will be hard at work on that kind of surveying and community character assessment. I'll be working with the staff on a kind of in-depth evaluation of the existing zoning code. And that will all culminate in a memo or short report of kind of big ideas that kind of set the stage conceptually for the direction of the project. We often refer to it as our project directions report. And that will be rolled out to the public online and eventually culminate in a public meeting at which we'll describe the general direction for the project, answer folks' questions, and give a bit of a primer on the type of zoning that we're recommending for various areas of the town. The second phase is where the real work begins and occurs, and that is in actually drafting the updated zoning code and adjustments to the zoning map. It's truly the recode phase of the project. We'll break that drafting work into installments. So perhaps in the first installment, or what we often refer to as modules, new zones and a new map for the Topsham Center study area that I referred to earlier, new and updated standards for building design, streets, open space, and any kind of strategic adjustments that we need to make to other code provisions to ensure that they kind of work together throughout the town. The third part, or the third installment of the recode draft that will occur in phase 2 is will involve kind of the administrative and procedural provisions. And here we may, for example, be looking at adjustments, refinements, revisions to the site plan review process, which isn't currently technically housed in the zoning code, but is a key part of the overall development process. And we anticipate that there'll be some opportunities and desire and need for some adjustments to those kinds of provisions as well. In the third phase, we'll be kind of releasing our new code into the public for widespread public review, establish a public review period, probably prepare some user's guide material to familiarize people with the new code framework and how to use it. Maybe reconvene some of the folks we talked to in phase 1 in our listening sessions as kind of focus groups, honing in on particular topics, and also holding public meetings, not public hearings, but more informal discussions, open houses, drop-in type sessions where people can come in and learn about the new code, ask questions, and hopefully have their questions answered. Once we've completed that public review phase, and that's probably going to be about 15, 18 months into the project when we conclude that, we'll enter the final stretch with the final zoning code and map, public hearings, a third draft revised in response to the kind of input we get during the public review phase, the town meeting and adoption, and then, as I mentioned before, post-adoption, ongoing support following the code adoption. So the real purpose tonight, despite the fact that Leslie and I have talked, have kind of hogged the microphone so far, is to kind of get a sense from you all about how you'd like to participate. We anticipate giving, or in tandem with town staff, giving you regular status updates throughout the project, and want to make sure that we're providing you the opportunity you want to participate beginning tonight, frankly. If you have words of wisdom, hopes, or dreams that you want to share with us tonight, I assure you we'll commit those to paper and do our best to address those sorts of issues. But Want to now turn the floor over to the planning board for any questions you might have or comments that you might want to give us as we start this project. Thanks again for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Kirk. Can someone take the presentation down? Okay, I guess a couple of thoughts. I appreciate the fact that you're going to be providing regular updates. I guess unless the board has a different opinion, it would be good to have some joint workshops when you're going through the process. And obviously when you get towards the end of the process, we'll need to be very much in line with what you're doing, as we'll need to take it through our workshops and public hearings, and then make our recommendations to the select board as far as passing this at town meeting. So and I know that both Andrew and Rod can certainly keep you informed on the process that we have to go through. I guess what I'd like to do is maybe go around to the board and see if there's any board comments or questions. And again, I want to thank both of you for introducing yourselves and introducing this project to us. Ron, do you have any comments or questions?
Not right now.
Okay, Dan?
So as I understand it, the term, I think it's Topsham Village Center. I'm assuming that's the lower village zone, middle, and is there an upper village zone, Rod? Is that the focus area for the code update?
The code update, and we can send out a map to the planning board that delineates it better for you folks. It's really all the commercial districts and what we call the Topsham Center in the RFP, which includes the mall, the commercial corridor along 196. It includes, and by that I mean the 295 east portion of 196 commercial corridor. The upper village, limited industrial in the upper village as well, which includes the annex property. The lower village, essentially, Dan, we excluded the R1, R2, and R3. Andrew and I will be working on addressing via comp plan some of the dimensional standards that are low-hanging fruit for this round. Probably with you folks, the planning board. That's kind of Kirk mentioned kind of two tracks here. There's going to be, a diagnostics and a review of the current code, the land use code, and it's time. I mean, Andrew and I view this as time to do a good cleanup, especially since we anticipate integrating a new code with our commercial zoning. So it's a big lift here, and that's why we've done a 2-year time frame for it.
Yeah, and I guess I would ask. So one of the things that's going to help us with is how to move from our conventional kind of use code that we have in place into this form-based code. I'm assuming that's one of the products.
Well, I'll jump in real quick. I in all honesty, Don, I don't want to have any presumptions that we are going full form-based. The public portion of the input we gather, guided by the comp plan, the public portion of this will further hone our product at the end of this process.
Okay.
Right. We have the reason Duncan and Codametrics are with us is because they've done this in other communities where they had to either adopt a hybrid form-based code, a real full form-based code, or just a standard conventional code like we have, but all cleaned up and addressing better standards. I mean, so I don't know the end product is what I'm saying, okay. But we definitely have consultants that have done all of the above.
All right, I won't jump there either then. Larry, do you have any comments or questions?
No, actually, Dan stole my thunder.
Good job, Dan. All right, Josh, you're still with us, right? Yeah, Josh, do you have any questions or comments?
So the only questions and comments that I have relate to the concerns that I've expressed over the years since being on the planning board, that I want a code that's clear and concise, very black and white to anyone who's trying to read it. So one question I have is, rather than doing 1,001 various small amendments to clean it up, do folks like you propose wholesale amended and restated codes that can be approved by, in this case, the town at town meeting? Or is it always patchwork amendments to fix issues that are, that are known to exist? I personally would far prefer some sort of amended and restated ordinance that reads very easily to citizens, to applicants, to the board, as opposed to 1,001 patchwork minor amendments to fix known problems.
Kirk, did you want to respond to that?
Well, I envision that the final product will meet with your satisfaction in that regard, Josh. Early discussions suggest that this will be a fairly comprehensive overhaul, that while there may be standards and regulations that live on, the way they're presented, explained, organized, and formatted will look markedly different than today's code. And that we won't be bringing you a series of piecemeal or Band-Aid type amendments. We'll be bringing you an entire code that looks and reads a fair bit different. Not saying that everything is, we're going to throw it all away, but we're going to repackage it and be fairly comprehensive in our efforts.
That's music to my ears. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Scott.
Yeah, thanks very much for the presentation. It's been, I looked at your proposal earlier and looking forward to participating in this in any way possible. I echo Josh's sentiment, and I think this, we've been hacking away at little items for years now, trying to improve things. Sometimes we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot and have to change it again. But there are also a number of things that have been on that list that have just haven't been tackled. And I like the overall approach, the fact that we're taking the comp plan, or you're taking the comp plan, we're working with you on it, and trying to incorporate those visions and those things into our code. It's been something that I've struggled with over the years on the board, in that, just for one example, conditional use, it's got that dreaded, oh, is it compatible with the comp plan, as one of the conditional use items that we have to think about. And, it's a lot better if what the comp plan wants is in the ordinance, rather than us as a board trying to interpret what the comp plan wants that never made it to the ordinance. So excited to see this move forward and see how form-based codes can, kind of, not to predispose, but I envision a hybrid of some sort. But I don't know enough about form-based codes to really say that I wouldn't want to go down that road either. So looking forward to the educational part of this too.
All right.
And just one question for you, Rod. So R1 is not part of this? It seems like R1 would be, since it's like an infill area that's right for what both Kirk and Leslie were talking about earlier.
Well, I mean, by default, Scott, it may be, but it's not necessarily something we wanted to, we did not want to put, by design, we did not want to put form-based into the residential zoning at this time.
Okay.
That may change the process.
Oh, sorry about that.
I think a big piece of that was that even when you look at the R1 zoning district within the growth area, most of it's built, and we can add density in those areas through kind of softer mechanisms like ADUs and enhancing some of these kind of underlying things. But the form's already there. We probably ought to make some tweaks to the existing zoning to bring those into conformance, but we're not really seeing a lot of form change in that area. I think it's going to be kind of more of the same in that section of town.
Okay,
But as far as like, back to conditional use, there are conditional uses in some of these areas that maybe, if we are doing a full rewrite and look at the zoning, that that portion of it could carry over to these areas. So
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
absolutely right. So
Yes.
when Andrew developed that categorical use table for you folks, that will likely be the direction we're going with a new use table. We'll have Kirk and Leslie look at what we developed on that. Kirk and Leslie, we began the process of updating our use table to a more form-based. It came out of Peoria, Illinois, was the model we used. What we did there is, taking those categories. So that, you're right, Scott, that's going to impact the entire town, regardless of zone. And that's going to be, so the discussion of the planning board's role in this process, the CPIC is the steering committee that has all the heavy lifting of this whole process, while the planning board has all of the technical workshop component on what actually gets produced and brought to town meeting. So you folks will be an integral piece to the development of the code. You don't have to set up any public meetings. You're just going to be showing up. Now, if you want to join CPIC and partake in all of the discussions, then you're more than welcome to do that as well. But the planning board is going to be a continued check-in throughout this process.
yeah, and I guess what I would add to that comment, certainly anyone that wants to participate, please do, right? However, that was what I was referring to when I said I thought we would like to have some joint workshops as well, right? And that would be CPIC with the planning board, with you, Kirk, and Leslie. And then just a part of Scott's comment in regards to conditional use, I can basically state it's pretty much, I think, factual, that the only time I see this board ever split on anything is when we get into conditional use hearings. Typically, we're pretty much unanimous when it comes to those items that we're not having to interpret whether or not it does or doesn't support the comprehensive plan. So, if you can help us with that, that is a real big deal in my opinion, right? So, again, thank you both. Rod or Andrew, anything else that you'd like to either bring up or discuss? Okay, I guess
I would
Kirk
check in with Kirk and Leslie if there's any closing remarks there. Just planning board members, you'll be very much involved in all of the production of this and review and input.
Okay, thank you both very much for your presentation. And I'd say welcome to Topsham, and make sure you try some of Rod's oysters as well while you're here.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. All right. Unless there's anything else, thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Seeing
to
none.
meet you all.